We have Karen Hand-Harper here today. Karen Harper, do you still go by hand or?
I professionally, I only go by hand, actually.
Okay, so Karen Hand, and then, okay, gotcha.
But my husband is the Harper part, and he really likes being mentioned. So thank you very much.
Okay, so I'll just keep hyphenating. How's that?
That's fine with me.
And I'm your host, Krista Marie Bowman. This is Hypnotherapy Uncensored, Building a Better Practice, which we're going to be doing a lot of today. We are streaming live, like I said. I hope that you stay on camera, but if you don't want to be available forever and all time on YouTube, then go ahead and take yourself off, but we would love to keep you on and have your lovely smiling face here. Karen's going to do some interactive fun stuff. It's totally going to be a party. Bonnie was spot on with that. And I am going to just tell you a little bit about Karen because it's always more fun when somebody else introduces you. So Karen Hand-Harper, hyphenated, is a board-certified hypnotist, trainer, mentor, international best-selling author, world-class communicator with a 30-year-long career as a Chicago radio personality, which I did not know until I was doing this research, because we have that in common. Not 30 years though. I didn't do it for that one. Let's see, which she says was the perfect foundation for using language to help others exercise their imagination. Karen's transition to hypnosis repurposed that skill, and since 2005, she's helped thousands of people take control of their lives and trained countless hypnotists and NLPers to help others change for good. You do see clients still.
I do.
That's awesome, because a lot of people, when they reach your your level, they kind of stop having those one-to-one sessions. So like, hats off to you, lady. I love that you do that.
Don't know how somebody tries out a new idea if they don't have a client.
You agree?
That's just me.
Yep,
that's just my BS. Okay, love it.
Well, and I also just really love the one-on-one interaction with my clients, and I learned so much. In fact, Ruthie Ann is where I learned the reboot. That's having a session with you is where that particular thing came up. So just to sort of like, yeah, if you're doing it real time, you get a chance to learn all of these cool things. So Karen has received many awards, including Hypnotist of the Year, Educator of the Year, Leadership Awards, IMDHA Pen and Quill Award for Literary Excellence. If you haven't read her books, guys, you got to go read her books. The Magic Words book was, I think, the first one I read, and yeah, Magic Words and Language Patterns. A lot of that book has found its way into my Quantum Journeys Hypnosis Academy.
Wow.
A lot of the verbiage that you use in your ego strengthening to emerge, totally in there. And I credit you, don't you worry about that.
You credit Jason for that too. That's Jason Lynette.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a lot of stuff. Yeah. Let's see, whether IACT Distinguished Service Award. What was the other book that you just showed? The Essential
Trance, Dance, and Magic Words are the ones I showed. I don't have a copy, I don't think, of
The Essential Guide to Crafting Irresistible Suggestions.
That's this one.
Oh, okay.
But the other one is Workshops Like a Pro that I wrote with Kelley.
Workshops Like a Pro. Oh, that was the collaboration one that you did.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, today Karen's going to be talking about real world hypnosis, the kind that happens whether we know it, believe it, or want it to. So it's happening regardless. So take it away, Ms. Hand-Harper.
Thank you, Krista, very much for having me. I appreciate this. I would love to start by turning this right back on you and asking you a question. What is hypnosis? Let's just chat about it for a second. What is this thing called hypnosis? By the way, as we chat here, and I believe completely in life, there are no right or wrong answers. There's not a right or wrong answer to this. Otherwise, we would all know exactly specifically what we're talking about. And we don't. We all talk about it in a slightly different way, which is perfectly okay. So, Peggy, I know that you're ready to party, so I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself first and just tell me what your opinion, it doesn't have to be factual. We're not going to fact check this. What is your opinion of what is hypnosis?
The song from the 50s or 60s just came to me. Sleepwalk. Since I'm, yeah. So there
Adam Lambert has an updated version, by the way, Sleepwalker. But that's, again, my belief system, because I happen to be an Adam Lambert devotee. You can see the blanket on my recliner back there. So I'm
Oh,
sorry to interrupt with it.
that's
So sleepwalking is what you're talking about with as a metaphor for what hypnosis is, yes?
yeah.
Perfect. Ruthie Ann.
Oh my goodness, on the spot.
Yes.
Well,
And
it's just
you're next. Prepare.
it's just a communication, like a non-judgment, judgmental communication, with a therapist, with a hypnotherapist and a client, working with the subconscious mind, letting yourself go, letting yourself go, and letting the information just flow out.
Yes. Anne, what's your definition of hypnosis?
Okay, there I am.
Thank you. Yeah.
My definition, I would agree very much with Ruthie Ann that just to open up for what is, but it's also, and to let go, but also to be absorbed in the moment, so to speak, emotionally, or, yeah. Sorry, it was, I was really taken with surprise there. And of course,
I know. I did that on purpose.
yeah, and we do have the standard definition of what hypnosis is, but
Okay, so what's the standard definition?
well, not repeating it exactly, but it's a sort of the bypass of the critical factor. But I don't know. I think that when I'm triggered emotionally, negative or positively, things. Well, then I am in trance. So hypnosis is sort of a trance, or is it something that I elicit in myself, or is it something that somebody can elicit in me? So I think that hypnosis is probably more the active part conducted by another person to me or a subject. And trance is probably something I put myself into. Yeah.
Interesting that you separate hypnosis from trance. Sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
it can be both.
I'm just saying it's interesting. I'm not saying it's not or it is. I'm just saying very interesting that in your belief system, hypnosis and trance are somewhat slightly separate. Yes.
I find it more
Kelley,
active. Yeah, hypnosis is more active. An agent causes something to a subject.
perfect. Lovely. Kelley in the chat room says her mic's not on, but she says a heightened state of deep relaxation. A heightened state of deep relaxation. Chrissa, what is your definition?
No, I actually agree with Anne in that trance and hypnosis are two different things, but they can occur together, and that can make them, I think, each of them more powerful. But I see hypnosis as essentially the pathway to beliefs in a way. So, like, here's a real world example. This morning, my son went to go put some milk in some cereal, and he pulled the lid off and saw that it like had a little bit of like, it was kind of dried up, and he smelled it and he was like, oh, the milk's gone bad. And then I smelled it. I was like, no, the milk's fine. But he had smelled like the little part on the lid. Once he had that belief that it was bad, now all he could smell was bad milk, even though it was totally fresh and didn't have a bad smell at all. But he had convinced himself. So I feel like it's a delivery system for beliefs. And they can be good beliefs or bad beliefs.
The moment that his belief emerged, if I'm understanding you correctly, Carissa, the moment his belief emerged, that's when hypnosis happened. Is that correct?
No trance needed. Yeah.
No trance needed. It was the belief change. So yes, every single person on the call is absolutely 100% correct. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. Now, Peggy, how do you know that someone is hypnotized?
All I have to do is say hello and they're gone.
How do you know they're gone?
they're just, I'm going to say entranced. I'm a
Oh,
sales,
wait a minute, watch out. You just married Hypnosis and Trance.
yeah.
I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you and everybody on the call, by the way.
It's a good marriage too. It works.
Yes.
It's a happy marriage. I'm in sales. I've been called the best salesperson in the world by one of my international vendors.
Quick interrupt question. Is that any different from hypnosis?
No, that's
Thank you.
what I'm
Okay.
saying.
All right. That's the right answer.
When I'm selling something, there is so much rapport between me and the person that I'm selling to, that I'm just sharing with them, and I can almost see them fall in, and then as I leave, I watch them fall out. It's fascinating to me.
Let me drop in an idea with that, with the sales component of it. Okay. Consider a car dealership for a moment. The best salesman on the lot, the absolute best salesman on the car lot, cannot sell a car to somebody down at the donut shop. I don't care how great a salesman they are. The worst salesman on the car lot is likely to sell a car to somebody who walks on the lot and says, I'm here to buy a Toyota. Where did the hypnosis happen? Or where did the sales happen? Let's not even call it hypnosis. Where did the sale happen? Right? The sale, and from you, a salesperson, Peggy, I'm guessing that the sale occurs, you can kind of tell if the sale is going to be successful or not, as soon as you start building that rapport. You're going to know, I'm in here just looking. Okay, chances are 50-50. I'm in here to buy. You're going to have a whole bunch of different information about that encounter, are you not?
Absolutely.
And you're going to have a whole lot more success when they walk into your lot ready to buy a car than if you go down to the donut shop and try to sell people who are there for donuts a car. There's no leverage to sell a donut shopper a car. So now we're talking about rapport. We're talking about interest. We're talking about leverage. Okay. And we're not talking about the salesman doing a damn thing, except waiting for the person to be in the right place at the right time.
They're at threshold when they walk on the lot. Yeah.
Did I oversimplify sales?
So they're
no.
hypnotizing themselves before they get there.
Yeah.
Yes, the hypnosis happened long before they walked into the car dealership. The hypnosis happened the moment they decided that they were going to buy a car or go look at cars or go eat a damn donut. That's where the hypnosis happened, and nobody did it to them.
Absolutely.
They made the decision.
So I gotta say, the Oxford Dictionary has the worst definition of hypnosis I've ever seen.
And it says,
the induction of a state of consciousness, that part I believe, in which a person apparently loses the power of voluntary action. No, that
Oh
part
dear.
that is exactly
highly
what,
responsive to suggestion. Yes. It's used in therapy typically to recover suppressed memories, which is only a tiny part. Anyway,
Right.
but then Wikipedia had a much better one that says it's a human condition involving focused attention, reduced peripheral awareness, enhanced capacity to respond to suggestion. And there are competing theories of hypnosis and hypnosis-related phenomenon among different factions.
that is the most correct thing in the Wikipedia definition, by the way.
Yeah.
There are competing definitions.
Yeah.
Yes, that is true. And they are all accurate. And they are all true for some of the people, some of the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And for a specific subset of people, some of the time. So thank you very much, Peggy, for bringing up that link or that metaphoric vision of how, yes, sales and hypnosis are really the same damn thing. It's persuasion, it's influence. And the salesperson is the least important part of the equation, unless they're very observant and they can see somebody walk in and determine through conversation or observation what level of interest or what level of leverage we have to move on to the sale, to close the deal. Yeah, is that Good sales terms, Peggy?
But I do have to add the rapport and the comfort factor that I bring to the person is what makes them go over the line and
Yes. And
do
we are
the-
getting to that in just a moment, I promise you. That was the answer. You went all the way to the end of the whole presentation, and that was the answer. Thank you for jumping
I
ahead.
guess we're done now.
But that's all right. Kristen jumped ahead and went into a PowerPoint that I had prepared that I'm probably not going to use anyway because we're having too much fun.
Well, I wanted to,
I actually,
about the-
Krista, use those two definitions, those exact definitions in a PowerPoint to describe hypnosis. This is what the dictionary says. This is what Wikipedia says. Now let's look at the truth. But
well,
we're going
great minds think alike, right?
Ruthie Ann, tell me how you know someone is in hypnosis.
Well,
Or
when
hypnotized.
they, okay, I look at their breathing. It's slower. The words, when they're really deep, the words are much slower. Let's see, maybe the
I just
eye
want to
movement.
challenge that a little bit and ask if
Okay.
that is a definition of hypnosis or is that a definition of relaxation?
I think that would be a definition of relaxation, but
Okay.
also in hypnosis, because when you're in hypnosis or in trance, either way, you're, I believe, I believe that your breathing is slower because you feel, I think that when you're relaxed, you feel safe. And so your breathing is going to slow down.
So hypnosis is safety? Let me just challenge that for a second with a real world example. My
Okay.
mother would absolutely never let me hypnotize her, for heaven's sake. She didn't even believe in that stuff. And at the end of her life, my mother had to come live with me. She was quite ill, and I became her full-time caregiver. In that process, we had a home health nurse who came once a week and did her vitals and took blood and did the necessary things that they needed to do. My mother hated those visits, as any 86-year-old woman is likely to. And one day the nurse came and she sat down. My mother was sitting in the living room. She was always quite angry, but her usual angry self. And the nurse pulled out her black bag and opened it up. And my mother gripped the side of the chair and she said, "She's going to steal all of my blood. I'm not going to have any left." Wow, that was harsh, right? And the nurse gently pulled out her needle. She put it in her arm and not a drop of blood came out of that vein. Not a drop of blood came out of the vein. I looked. I watched her remove the needle, wipe it down. Things happen. Sometimes you miss a vein. We understand. So then she went to the next arm and I watched her very carefully. She stuck the needle right into the vein. One tiny drop of blood emerged and stopped. And then, now I was already quite an experienced hypnotist, but it took me till that point to realize that my mother was in hypnosis. She had hypnotized herself. She had told herself, "This woman is going to steal all of my blood. I won't have any left. I am about to die." And she stopped the blood flow. As soon as that clicked in, it took a little longer than it should have, but as soon as it clicked in, I jumped up out of the chair. I went to my mother's side and as forcefully as I could, I said, "Mom, you've got to breathe. Breathe with me now. Inhale on the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale on the count of 4. And she went. That, by the way, was a startle induction. Not intentional, but there it was in real life, a startle induction. "Mom, you've got to breathe with me. Breathe in on a 4 count, breathe out on a 4 count. She did that with me because she was startled and the blood started to flow because we interrupted the pattern of the thought that she was having, the belief that she was having that she was going to die from the blood draw. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That is real world hypnosis. She had convinced herself to believe such an extent that she was about to die that she stopped her blood flow. It happens in the operating room all the time. Surgeons, OR nurses will talk about instances of a doctor saying something about we've got a bleeder here, and a patient in the know under anesthesia can redirect that blood flow, can stop it. As long as they believe that they can do
You
that.
do it.
If they don't believe they can do it, they can't do it. Now, Ruthie, and the reason I brought that story up at this point is because I guarantee you my mother was not in a state of relaxation.
No, you're
She was in a state of
okay. Well, then I was
and
would
awareness.
say, then I
And
would
went
say,
into a trance state at the same time.
Mhm.
Sitting next to a person on an airplane who is having a panic attack because of a takeoff, they are not in a relaxed state, yet they are in a trance. And the way to alleviate that trance is not, ooh, take a nice deep breath and close your eyes and relax. It's to pattern interrupt right there in the real world. Stop it in its tracks. That too is hypnosis. Does that make sense?
it does, and you're absolutely right, and I agree, because all the people, like in World War II, that when they were all in a trance, the Nazis, when they were all in a trance, and it wasn't a relaxed trance. So yeah, I was just referring to my clients when they come into my office.
I agree with you. Yes, so I jumped ahead a little bit and cheated a little bit because.
So what about this? I have a question.
Okay, come on. I really want to talk about how hypnosis happens in the real world
Okay.
and how it happens on purpose. Accidental hypnosis, real world things, accidental hypnosis is the #1 reason people choose hypnosis on purpose. The hypnosis has already occurred. The trance has already occurred. Now they're coming to you to undo what has already transpired.
That's exactly what I was just gonna say.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, anybody here who's ever had a negative thought about their body, raise their hands. That's self-hypnosis. It's also cultural hypnosis, but it's hypnosis. Because we weren't born with that. We didn't come into this world thinking, oh, my chubby thighs, I'm so gross,
That's right. Okay. Again, I'm never going to make it to the damn PowerPoint because I'm jumping ahead to all the stuff. Thank you so much, because this is so much more fun, I guarantee you.
I like these kinds better than the PowerPoint presentations.
Yes. So my analogy. Now, first I should say, I will admit to you all, I think hypnosis is BS. I think hypnosis and NLP is all unadulterated BS.
That's great. I just got my certification today in NLP.
Yes, you're certified in BS. Here's what I mean by that, Ruthie Ann. Belief system. Belief system is the BS we're talking about. Everybody comes into your office with their own BS, their belief system. That's what they hand you to work with. And you also have BS. You also have a belief system. And if you force your belief system onto your client, which is nothing but giving advice, when you give advice, you're forcing your belief system on your client, okay? If you're forcing your belief system on your client, it might work. They might take this suggestion, utilize it, and make that work. Or it may not. If you utilize their belief system and make some tweaks and changes, that's going to work, because it's their BS that we're dealing with in the first place. Like the lady who called me from her front porch and asked me if I could deal with a spider phobia. And I said, well, tell me what's going on. And she said, I'm standing on my front porch. I just got home from the grocery store. I open the front door and there's a spider dangling right inside the door. I'm scared to death of spiders. I slammed the door, called my husband. Her husband had to come home from work to kill the spider so that she could walk inside the house. She said, do you think you could do something with that? I said, you betcha I can. Come on in. And she came in. First of all, I knew that the spider hadn't hypnotized her. First of all, I knew that that happened some other time before. There was a huge hypnotic belief system that occurred someplace. I think we're all like cell phones. So when you get a brand new cell phone, it's beautiful, right? It's perfect. It's got email. It's got texting. It's got access to all sorts of stuff. And you, in your infinite wisdom, decide you want to play a game. So you download an app for that. You want a different scheduling program that they came up with. So you download an app for that. And you customize from the first day you get that cell phone with a perfectly good working operating system, you customize it to your specifications. And it works just fine until one of those apps becomes outdated, isn't really working the way you wanted it to, or whatever. And then, Anne, when you have an outdated, yeah, I'm springing it on you again. When you have an outdated app on your phone, Anne, what do you do with it? Do you rewrite it, upgrade it? Do you leave it running, ignore it?
I'm not a tech person, but I suppose I would update it if the belief is updatable.
Okay. And if it's not updatable, would you just leave it? Would you just ignore it?
It will hurt for a while until it gets too bad. And then I will desperately try to get help to update it.
You just explained perfectly what we do with our real lives, right? So if we have on our cell phone an outdated app, an app that's no longer working for us, you know what happens? That app continues to run in the background. Unless we delete it or upgrade it or rewrite it, the app continues to run in the background, ready to jump out whenever it thinks it's a good idea. Kind of like autocorrect.
Or
which
slow
finds
everything else way down.
Yes, autocorrect finds itself in some conversations that it has no business in on my phone, but it's there running in the background and just jumps in whenever it thinks it's necessary. That's the way programs, apps on your phone work. Now, they modeled cell phones after us, okay? But we work the same way. When we're born with a perfectly working operating system. We can digest, we can manage waste, we can startle, we can blink, we can breathe. We've got all sorts of really cool operating system qualities. And on day one, we plop out of that birth canal, really, I believe, upon the explosion, okay, we start upgrading our lives for ourselves because things happen in the womb too that we make adjustments for. But we plop out of the birth canal, and there we are, brand new, and we start customizing ourselves for our own purposes. Mom picks us up, holds us, feeds us. We start downloading the app. Warmth is good. Oh, closeness is good. And we download that. Now, if you got a shitty mother and she drops you, you download the app. Yeah, not so safe after all. I'm just saying different experiences cause us to download different behavior apps. Does that make sense? Right? And we start customizing our lives as we go from the perspective of where we start. I, like you, Anne, don't have any real technical ability. So if I download an app and it goes awry, I may not even notice it. I developed this metaphor at the Apple store one day when I got a new iPhone. And this was when they still had Apple Geniuses. And she transferred all of my material. And she said, do you know you have 9 pages of apps on this phone? And I said, no, I didn't. And she said, do you use all of them? I said, oh, honey, I don't even know what most of them are. And she said, do you know that they're running in the background, using up bandwidth and battery life and all of that? And I went, I did not know that. But boy, did you just invent a great metaphor for hypnosis. And that's where the metaphor was born. Now, did I delete all those apps? I'm not real sure, to be quite honest with you, but let's not talk anymore about that. Let's go ahead and talk about the metaphor. Okay, so
what would the Wi-Fi be in that situation?
well, the Wi-Fi is maybe if we want to go with a woo-woo look at it, Krissa, it's the spirit.
Exactly.
Right. Any definitions we want to apply to it. The point is, we start downloading these behavior apps. So when this woman with the spider phobia came into my office, I said, so how long have you had this fear? And she said, as long as I can remember. And I said, wow. I want to know if we can find the very first time that you had that fear, because you weren't born with it. You were born without a fear of anything. She agreed with that. And she said, sure. And I said, okay, let's play a little game if you don't mind. Just close your eyes and I'm going to ask you to go back in time in your own mind and just get younger and smaller and just be curious if you can find that very first time that it happened. And she said, I'm sitting on the floor. And I said, great, tell me about that. And she said, and It's fuzzy. I want to pet it. And as it turns out, she was 3 years old in Texas, sitting on the floor of her living room as a tarantula walked by. To a 3-year-old, it looked like a kitty or something fuzzy. She wanted to pet it. From behind her, her mother screamed, "Don't touch it, it'll kill you." She jumped away. There, I believe, Peggy, it was you talking about emotions involved and that kind of thing. Boy, was there a lot of emotion and fear of death and mom screaming and all of that stuff. And that little 3-year-old did the smartest thing she could possibly have done at 3. She downloaded the behavior app to avoid spiders at all cost. Then, Ruthie Ann, you just learned from NLP that we generalize out information. So that went from from tarantulas to all spiders. Right then and there, in her infinite 3-year-old wisdom, she downloaded the behavior to avoid spiders at all cost. And she lived by that. And that behavior app there in the background worked perfectly for 43 years. At 46, she went, "I'm locked out on my porch because there's a spider. There must be something I can do about this. There must be a different option." But she was so ingrained in her belief in the app that had been working so well all this time that she didn't independently know how to give herself different options. So right there, that easily, no hocus pocus, no weird stuff, no, long induction, none of that. Just tell me about it. She very good subject, by the way. She went right to it instantly. They don't all, I'll admit, but this one did, and told the story right away. And I was then able to do some informed child work. I simply said, "Grown up, wow, what a wonderful story. Can you praise that little one and tell her what a brilliant idea it was? It was the only thing she could do. It's the only thing she had agency for. And oh my God, that plan from 3 years old worked for all of these years." She did that. And I said, now that you're all grown up and you have lots of other options, is there anything else that you might do? And the grown-up said, "Well, you could kill it. You could step on it. You could swat it with a magazine. You could kill it with a fly swatter." The grown-up had all sorts of other options, but the behavior app did not yet. So when the grown-up informed the little one about the different options, the little one said, "Oh, okay." She told her, "You'll grow up, you'll be big, you'll be able to take care of spiders," all of the stuff that we do in informed child work, right? We grew them both back up together. She had brand new options and she went off on her merry way. A couple of weeks later, I got a text from the woman saying she'd just gotten out of the shower and there was a spider on the tile. She said, "I killed it with my bare hands," and laughed when it went down the drain. And I went, "Great, I just created a homicidal maniac."
I was gonna say, maybe we could tell the grown-up that it's possible to find some other way.
I could
Yeah.
not, Krista,
Nope.
and here's why. I am a pacifist. I don't kill spiders. Spiders don't bother me. If a spider's in the room with me and I don't want it in the room with me, I relocate it. I don't kill it. I don't swat it. I don't even mind being in proximity with it. They don't bother me at all. I don't kill ants or other things either. That's not my style. But if I had told the little one, "Oh, you could relocate it," that wouldn't have meshed with her belief system.
Yeah.
Right? I had to let the grown-up come up with the options that were within her belief system, and her alternative plan was to kill it herself rather than call
I'm just
it.
really glad it was spiders she was afraid of and not other humans.
Trust me, if it had been a 3-year-old child, I wouldn't have we wouldn't have gone to the same place. I don't really create homicidal maniacs. I'm just saying, and hypnosis,
I'm just kidding.
I only tell this story in select groups, right? Because I don't want anybody thinking that we can really do that.
But
don't
it
have-
also perfectly illustrates how perpetuating the beliefs are, the apps are, because it's that part that's sort of born that creates the solution, which is, "Oh my God, I'm going to be terrified of spiders forever." Well, they're still alive, so it must be working, right?
It was working until that day.
Right, exactly.
But that day on her porch, she had an epiphany.
Right.
I'm
I love
46
that.
years old. This is stupid. I'm locked out of my house waiting for my husband to come home. I'm a full-grown adult woman. This can't be. And so she called the witch doctor. That's why I have this. She called the witch doctor to help her figure it out. Now, I could have said, oh, honey, just step on them. She could get that advice from her mother, her best friend, her next door neighbor, her husband, and it hasn't worked for all these years. I had no business giving her my belief system, even though, like you, Chrissa, I wish you wouldn't have killed it. It wasn't my place to give her advice. It was my place to facilitate a new idea or a new behavior download that she came up with.
And it's always going to be so much more powerful when it comes from the person.
Otherwise, it's advice.
Yeah.
Don't charge your clients for advice. They can get it free from their mother or their next door neighbor. Charge them for facilitating them to come to a better app download or behavior download from their belief system. Tap into their belief system and come up with it, okay? That's our job as a facilitator, not to give them answers. Well,
I'm so glad that you said that too.
Yes,
That we're
right?
facilitators.
I'm sorry?
I said, I'm so glad you said that we're the facilitators, you know, and it's their belief systems that we're working with. I actually make my students sign a thing saying, I will not impose my spiritual belief systems because of the type of hypnosis we do. But yeah, let the person come up with whatever their experience is.
And they will. They install the behavior in the first place. Okay, they install the behavior in the first place. That is where the hypnosis occurred. Because in my belief system, hypnosis occurs when a suggestion is taken on as a belief. Okay, it's not close your eyes and count backwards till you lose the numbers. That could be, there's no way to know if that's creating hypnosis or not. What we do know is sometimes it's creating someone who gets bored and they go, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore, go on. Or somebody who says, this is stupid, I'm not playing this game, or I'm already down to 0, or somebody who just keeps counting. Unless they do it out loud or tell us, we're not mind readers, we can't know. So that gets me to the next question. Chrissa, how do you know someone is hypnotized?
Oh, I just figure everybody is. Yeah. I mean, really, like depth and level of trance in my world has not necessarily translated into efficacy of the session. Sometimes they'll be perfectly wide awake, eyes open, whatever, but it's obvious that they're coming up with whatever they need to come up with to change the thing that they wanted to change. And then other times they might be so deep that they don't remember anything at all, you know?
All of my hypnosis, I can't say all, that's a stretch. A majority of my hypnosis is done eyes open, wide awake. We do all of the work first, eyes open, wide awake, where I have the client, and there's no resistance to this, by the way. You'll learn this, Ruthie Ann, as you do more NLP. There is no resistance when you're having a conversation with somebody. Okay, because they don't think they're being hypnotized. When they go see a hypnotist, a part of them is going, okay, they're going to do something to me. Okay, they're going to do something to me. Okay, they're going to do something to me. And as soon as you say, move to the magic chair or close your eyes, that's when they're going to do something to me stuff starts. It doesn't start in the conversation. It doesn't start when you say, tell me about that. By the way, with the spider lady, we went back to the initial sensitizing event, the ISE, but I have no belief that that's where we have to go to solve a problem. I think the RSE is just as valuable. That would be the recent sensitizing event. Tell me about the most recent time it happened to you and all the things that went on there. Tell me about it is the induction. As soon as they go inside their mind to retrieve the story and start telling you about it, they are entranced. They are in hypnosis. They are not in the here and now. They're not telling me about the way the chair feels on their ass. They're telling me about something that happened some other time ago. That's hypnosis. They're not in the here and now. And like Chris has said, unless you are right here talking about what's happening at this very moment, you were in hypnosis. You're either in the future, worried about what might happen, or you're in the past, regretting or lamenting or thinking about or acting on what happened in the past. A great way to to do a pattern interrupt on that is to stop and go, okay, wait a minute. I'm breathing. That's the air going in my lungs, the air going out of my lungs. Okay, you've brought yourself into consciousness. It also happens in the real world when you're driving along, minding your own business, and somebody cuts you off in traffic. I don't know what you do, but boy, I spent a long time when somebody cut me off in traffic going, I think that was a horrible thing to do. How dare you ruin my day doing that? And all that did was ruin my day. I was ruining my day. They made a mistake. I had to come to the conclusion that, wait a minute. Oh, you brought me into consciousness. You took me out of my wonderful little trance that I was in, whatever I was thinking about, and you made me come into consciousness. Whoa, thanks for increasing my heart rate. Thanks for making me realize that my reflexes are working perfectly today. Woohoo, that was great. A way better way to self-hypnotize than let them affect my day. But that's when I realized, oh, that's consciousness. All the rest of it is hypnosis. Unless I am in the here and now. And by the way, I'm very much in the here and now right now, but I am in the teaching trance. You are in the learning trance. They're both trance states. I didn't put you into it. You put yourself into it when you decided to come here today. I put myself into the teaching trance when I decided to do this today. And then it was just a matter of, how are we going to play out this hour? What are we going to do together this hour? So let me take just a moment. This is in no particular order. Sorry about that, but let me share I can't share my screen. It won't let me. Would you let me?
Yes, of course.
I just want to show you this because this is one of my favorite little examples of real world hypnosis. Thank you. So everyday hypnosis, number one reason people choose hypnosis on purpose. Here, where is the suggestion? Come on, you guys are all experienced hypnotists. Where is the suggestion in this picture? Whoever has it, scream it out. Go ahead.
The little squares of carpet.
Would be the squares.
The little carpet squares. That's exactly right. This is a CVS pharmacy counter before the pandemic, by the way. A CVS pharmacy counter. And there are two very covert suggestions right there. Right? So hypnosis involves suggestion. Those were the suggestions, but that wasn't hypnosis. It also requires acceptance. Now, this guy was hypnotized by the carpet square. This guy wasn't necessarily hypnotized by the carpet square. He went up to where they were selling the drugs, right? The medications, sorry. And this guy, not knowing that he was hypnotized at all, not knowing that he was taking a carpet square suggestion, took the suggestion, and now we know that he was hypnotized. Now, as we look at this, we can determine some other things because we're good hypnotists, which means that we're observers. What I know about this man, if he'd come to me right away for a session, what I know is that he is not directly suggestible. In other words, he didn't stand right on the square. He's inferred suggestible. He wants some options. He wants to kind of do it his way. So I'm never going to tell this guy, exercise first thing every morning. I'm going to tell this guy, so you want to exercise more? I'm curious, would you do that in the morning or in the afternoon or in the evening? When might you do that? Because it takes me out of the equation. He's the one who wants to do it. So I'm going to ask him when he wants to do it. Does that make sense? But okay, so that brings me to the idea that we are observers of human behavior. And when you observe human behavior, you can gather an awful lot of information. I don't remember where the PowerPoint goes from here, but let's find out together. Oh, hypnosis involves suggestion and acceptance plus outcome specification. You have to know where you're going. Otherwise, you're just experimenting. You're just exploring. If somebody calls me and wants to do a past life regression, I am going to send them to my friend Don Hood in Chicago or to Chrissa and say, by all means, because you guys want to spend the time of exploring that kind of thing. I like to do hypnosis where we affect a change. All of it's hypnosis, but I like to have a specific outcome and go for the specific outcome. Successful, everyday covert hypnosis. The pharmacy desired orderly cueing. The specific outcome of the carpet square suggestion was orderly cueing at the pharmacy counter. Hypnosis is a human condition, just like the definition that Chrissa talked about, involving focused attention. Now, notice the people who were going for makeup, which is over here in the CVS pharmacy, right? People who were going for makeup didn't even notice the pharmacy counter, much less the square. They walked on past it because that suggestion was not designed for them. That suggestion was designed for people who were there to pick up prescriptions, a specified outcome for the suggestion. And this guy was there to pick up prescriptions, but even though he didn't know it, there he was following that suggestion. Reduced peripheral awareness. People going in for makeup don't even notice the pharmacy counter. People going in for a prescription don't even notice the makeup. Enhanced peripheral or reduced peripheral awareness and an enhanced capacity to respond to a suggestion. Now, let's be real. Not everybody takes a suggestion. We all know people who haven't gone to the light gray carpet square. They've gone right up to the counter and said, I think I'm next. They just, as Bob Burns says, when it comes to suggestion, some people take them, some people don't. So what? Right? If you only have one suggestion in your toolbox, you might be in trouble. I'm going to stop the share there because we could go on to all of that other stuff. People are hypnotized in the movies all the time, but not, and yes, by the movie, because a director was creative in the way they put it together. But first, they had to decide to go to the movies. Okay, they didn't just have a movie spring up in front of them. They had, so that goes back to hypnosis education, way back to the things we learned early on in our hypnosis education about Greek sleep temples. Janine, I'm going to need you to mute your mic, if you would, please. There we go. Thank you. Back at the Greek sleep temples, everybody knew that if they were sick, they could go down to the Greek sleep temples and the priest would cure them. They would decide at home, I need the priest. They would go down to the sleep temple. They would give them their clothes and get a robe to put on, and the priest would walk them down to the sleep temple past incense and chanting people and all that kind of stuff, and go into the sleep temple with a slab of concrete and say, lay down and sleep for the night. They would say some magic words over them and say, when I come back in the morning, you'll be healed. They would leave. Come back in the morning, and 9 times out of 10, the person was healed. Not always, but they don't always talk about the ones that weren't healed. They just talk about the ones that were successfully healed. And they got up and they went away. That is exactly what we do with a movie. At home, we decide to go see a movie. We pick out one that we might like. They would pick out the priest they liked, by the way. Pick out the one we might like. We drive to the movie theater. We give them money. They give us a ticket. We walk through some long halls with enchanting smells and sounds and stuff, and we go down to the entertainment temple, and we sit in a seat. Have we all just induced our own movie trance? We pick our own seat. We have reduced peripheral vision. We focus on the screen. The lights dim, and all of a sudden we forget, if we're interested, okay, if the director was great, because it can fail, but usually once you've chosen a movie that you like, you go in, you forget all about the director, the cameraman, the lighting crew, the writer, the actors, and you get absorbed and you get into it. That's hypnosis by movie director. But they didn't do it to you. You did it way back at home. And that is really my point of real world hypnosis. Real world hypnosis exists. And because it exists, and we're always in a state of trance, and we sometimes get taken by suggestion, right? It's when the realization comes up that I need help to change the behavior app that I'm doing, or I need help for insight or something like that, that your client decides to use hypnosis on purpose. Now, they may not be aware that they have already been hypnotized covertly, accidentally, that they have already accepted a suggestion. They don't even know anything about that, and you don't have to explain anything about that to them. All they know at this point is they've got this issue and you're the one they've chosen to help. Now, you can use almost any method of help that you want if you do it right, which is where Peggy was a few minutes ago, when she said, it's all in the end result. It's all in the closing of the deal. You know that hypnosis has occurred when the suggestion is taken. Not when you successfully relax them, not when you've done any of that. It's when the suggestion is taken. And they decide, the suggestion that you are the right person to do this on purpose happens before they ever walk in for that appointment. It happens from what they saw on your website. It happens from what they read in a book. It happens from what they heard you say someplace else. It happens from a referral. Mm-hmm. But they're already hypnotized to believe you're the one who can do it, or they wouldn't give you the money for it. So you don't have to do anything to hypnotize them about hypnosis. They're already convinced. They're there. All you have to do is sit there and say, what is it you want to change today or accomplish today, or whatever it is however you get to what it is they're there for. What is it you want to do? Now, tell me how you do it now. How is that working for you now? That gives you information about how they're running the program now. And then almost anything they do differently will change the dynamic of what's going on. Almost anything they do differently. A client wanted motivation to exercise. He hadn't exercised since the beginning of the pandemic. I could have said, well, I suggest that you join a running club and get yourself on a schedule. I could have suggested that, and it would have gotten a lot of pushback. Instead, I said, when might you exercise? And unfortunately, this guy said, I don't have any idea. I hate the thought of it. I haven't exercised in years. And I said, well, did you get out of bed this morning? Of course, I knew the answer to that. He was in my office at that time. Did you get out of bed this morning? He said, oh, yeah. I said, well, exercise is really the moving of any muscles. So you had to engage your core and engage your leg muscles in order to stand up. And he went, oh, well, I guess that's true if you want to call that exercise. I said, well, we don't have to call that exercise, but I do want to know what you do when you brush your teeth. And he said, stand there and brush my teeth. Gosh, I wonder if you could march in place while you're brushing your teeth, or just shift your weight back and forth a little bit. And he said, march in place while I brush? Sure, I can do that. He said, I've got a Sonicare. It's a 2-minute timer. I could probably march in place for 2 minutes while I'm brushing my teeth. I said, and that wouldn't take anything out of your day. Would you be willing to do that? And he said, yeah, I can do that. I said, would you do it? Do you brush your teeth at night too? And he said, yeah. I said, so now you're doing 4 minutes of exercise every day? And he said, well, yeah, that's 4 minutes more than I did yesterday. Where else might you be able to shift your weight or march in place? And he said, wow, when I'm waiting for the coffee to make out of the Keurig, when I'm filling up my water bottle at the refrigerator, I could do it while I'm standing in line at the grocery store. And I said, yeah, you could. I'm very interested to see how many places you can come to where you can move your feet between now and our next appointment. And he said, I can't wait to tell you. He came back with a whole bunch of places. I didn't tell him to do it. He came up with it because I was curious. What might you do? I don't know what I'll do. I know you don't know, but if you did know, what might it be? That's another solution. I know you don't know, and they always have an answer to that. But this guy didn't have an answer. And so I went to the silliest, easiest, least exercise thing I could possibly think of. And he took it hook, line, and sinker and was off and running. Not because I imposed my belief on him, but I was curious about what his belief might let him do. And that's how we work with real world hypnosis, understanding that the hypnosis has already happened. We're not doing stuff to them. We don't have that kind of power. Give me a break. If you had that kind of power, you'd hang out at the lottery office just like I would. And when the big Powerball winner came in, you'd do that magic stuff to them and you'd retire in Fiji. So we don't have any magical powers. We really aren't witches, but our clients think we are. Our clients sometimes believe that we are. That's okay. They can believe that we're helping them, but don't you fall for it because you know the truth. You are facilitating. Draw out from them the answers that they have, and you will have success every single time. They come to you with all the answers. Just let them arrive at them. That's my belief system. That's my BS. And I think we have 2 minutes. Are there any questions?
I wanted to say the carpet squares and the humans reminded me of cats. Cats are in a constant state of hypnosis every time there's a box nearby. Also, people who are convinced that they cannot be hypnotized, they will not be hypnotized, they will never be, and I don't tend to work with them because it's not my job to convince them. But you know, when I was doing training and stuff, and there would be somebody I'd say like, and now your hands are coming together, and they would go the opposite direction and be like, that works too. They'd be, what? I'd say, yeah, you're totally under hypnosis. Look what you did. You did the opposite of what I asked, you know, and they're like, but that's not fair. Like, well, it is what it is.
It is. Peggy, to your point, put yourself out there. Whatever you are, put yourself out there and let the clients choose you, because they will choose the person they think can help them. If you use essential oils and crystals, by all means, show that right up front so the people who believe in essential oils and crystals will come to you. If you wear fringe and you use a light and sound, advertise that, because people who are into that will come to you. Advertise
Thank you for
what
saying
you
that.
do
We
and
need
let
to-
them
yeah.
come to you. You can't go up to somebody on the street and hypnotize them.
And this is why we're not competing with each other. I really,
Yeah.
there's over 8 billion people on the planet now. When I first started this training, there was a little bit less than, but I have to change my verbiage now because there's more than, but there's over 8 billion people on the planet. They're going to resonate with, so, you know, like as long as we're authentic in our expression of who we are and what we bring to the table, the right people will find us and vice versa.
I have videos of myself on every page on my website. People who don't like blondes, scroll, keep scrolling. That's fine by me. That's none of my business. Literally and figuratively, that's none of my business. I don't need to know about the people who don't like what they see. I only
Right.
care about the people who do like what they see because they come prepared to do the work.
I do need to clarify one thing, just because we are out of time and this is going up on YouTube forever and all time, but you had mentioned that you would refer somebody to me for past life regression. I actually don't intentionally take people to past lives ever. I take them to
I
what I call the
misunderstood
hallway
that.
of answers, and I say, let your higher self point out the doorway that we need to go to resolve whatever the issue is that you're coming for. And I don't know where they're going to go. Sometimes they go to a past life, sometimes they go elsewhere. I never know. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that in case.
Well, Don Hood is still a good
watching this
reference.
later.
Then.
Yeah.
Don Hood is still
Yeah.
a good reference for someone who wants to do past life.
Just to explore, totally. And so there are those too. I even have some students that do that, and I love that, but that's just not, I like to have a direction, you know.
And to clarify, I don't object to past life regressions. If somebody spontaneously regresses, cool, we'll work with it there. But I don't care where we go. If it's
Right.
100 years ago or last week, we'll work with where it presents.
Exactly. And there's no such thing as time anyway, right? But that's a whole nother interview. Anyway, thanks so much, Karen. That was absolutely brilliant. That was wonderful. What was that, Peggy? Go ahead.
And so much fun. Thanks,
Oh,
Karen.
yes. Thank you.
Hard-
You're a fun teacher. Very
It was a
charismatic.
party, I told you.
Absolutely. It was what I could listen to you all day, Karen.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Loved it. Thank you so much.
And
Thank you.
Beryl Comar popped in a few times to just say some things, but I didn't want to interrupt you. So when you go back into the Hypnotherapy Uncensored group, you might want to check into her statements, as well as Olga Tarrant. She popped in and had a few little things to say too. So anyway,
Cool.
but let's do this again. And actually, Karen, I would love to have you on the Quantum Journeys podcast soon. So I'm going to reach out about that, because we have so much fun talking. You guys didn't even hear all the stuff that was happening before I went live. We're just like, oh wait, we got to go live. Hold on.
Well, I actually came on early. I was hoping that you would push the button and let me in, because I said, I know there's juicy stuff going on in there, juicy talks.
So much so that I almost forgot to go live. So yes. Anyway,
Well, that's so good to know. I had a lot of fun. I'll come back anytime. Loved it.
oh,
Thank
it's fantastic.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
All
you
right,
so
and
much.
there's some links to the side, but I'm going to put them into the comments in the Facebook group as well. And also in the YouTube channel, so you can go find Karen's website and da 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 da. Thank you so much, everyone. It was quite an honor to have you, Karen.
you.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, Chris.